Hello everyone, welcome to another broadcast day at fmtrain.tv where we're working on awesome FileMaker training. Let me hit a couple buttons here. Welcome to Wednesday, Thursday. Shoot, I forgot it was a T day. It starts with T in the English language. I don't know what you call it in Russian, but it's Thursday. Feels like Tuesday. It's pretty warm here. The high heat finally hit California. It's like supposed to be 110 today. I don't know how that's going to really go. All my firefighting gear is on hot standby or ready to launch in the event we need it. So in which case, Margaret, you'll have to run the whole broadcast yourself. Hi, Margaret. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. So Margaret is here. We're working on topics for next week, as well as Claris did publish on their website. We were talking about it a little bit before, but they did publish the broadcast for Wednesday next week's kind of a special broadcast. Where is FileMaker 20? Right? Where is it? How is it? Why is it? How come I don't have it? How do I get it? How do I steal it? How do I buy it? We will reveal all those ancient Chinese secrets next week. It's pretty awesome. So let's talk about a little bit about who we are and what we are. So we are fmtrain.tv, where every day about this time slot, 1 o'clock, the company is a couple different companies I own, but this one is fmtrain.tv, where we do broadcasts every day for about an hour. Why are we here? Because the FileMaker is the predominant, despite talking to the competitors, it's the predominant low-code application for building awesome applications. It's actually the dominant low-code application. It's been that way for like 33 years, and it keeps getting better all the time. That's why we're talking about version 20 next week. And additionally, it's a great pro-code application. So if you want to grow up beyond the low-code of just writing scripts, you can get in there and write SQL statements and do all sorts of JavaScript, CSS, all sorts of advanced kung fu magical stuff. So it's pretty awesome, which means that the folks that you're here, you are what we call in an organization, you're a low-code hero. What is a low-code hero? It's someone who frequently is underappreciated. We discussed this yesterday a little bit, but you're building mission critical solutions. You're keeping your company organized in business, and you probably have another day job. It's like Scott is in here, and Scott was like, by day, he drives a dump truck. He's a sanitary engineer, as we say in the business. He's a trash man. He takes the trash out. And then by evening or by afternoon, he's building FileMaker Solutions. So very awesome. So it's a person who's frequently not appreciated. They do the FileMaker low-code stuff because no one else will. No one else in the organization cares enough to take care of it, and so they do that. Now, some of you are actually paid consultants. That's great. That's awesome. But at the end of the day, a lot of people in-house just not appreciate as much. But here at this channel, we appreciate you. We're glad you're here. We'll answer any questions we can. So, as we have the upcoming live stream, so you go to fmtrain.tv, press the live button right here. And so today is kind of an open-ended Q&A day. We're going to be talking about the inspector. We're also going to be foreshadowing some about FileMaker 20 and things that Claris wants to see from the rest of the world. So, Kyle will be tomorrow. He'll be talking about command control and communications. Like I said, if you're in the military, when you're going to pop the bad guy, the first thing you need to go after is their C3 operations. Ask our Marines if the Marines have had any sort of advanced training besides just shooting the guy in the lips across the way. You're going to find out that going after the enemy C3 is a way to go. So Kyle's going to be showing his C3. We're very excited by that. Moving on, we're talking about the inspector. So what is the inspector? We're going to dive into that a little bit. I'm going to fire up a copy of FileMaker 19. This is the version that comes before 20, right? And very, very, very important. So this is, I'm going to check the numbers here. I'm going to make sure I'm on the correct version. I'm on 19.2.2.234. I think this is the current release right now, if I'm guessing. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go to My Apps and not My Apps. I want to create a new app. Let's say create something new. Create new. And I'm going to go to a starter solution here. Let's start with something like contacts. I'm going to save to the desktop. I'm going to hit save. And so we have this starter solution right here. I'm going to press the button right there, hide all the stuff on the desktop. And so when we go to layout mode, I'm going to narrow myself down here even more. So I'm just a sliver of Richard. Sliver of Richard. And Margaret, if you want to interact more and be more part of this, feel free to do that. When you go in and out of layout mode, in and out of layout mode, Command or Control L, you're going to get what we used to call the water wings. They're like inflatables, right? So it's like when you're teaching your 5-year-old how to swim, frequently, or 4-year-old swim, the first thing you do is put these little inflatable things on their arms. And so the kid's sitting there floating. You can't really see it in the video because it's too narrow, but they're floating on their arms. The flights are right next to their arms at their shoulder. And so that's what it feels like. It feels like these things inflate and deflate, right? You deflate. I was trying to use layout mode to toggle it on and off, but you go to browse mode, you go to layout mode. I'm being very stupid. And then you can disable the water wings as we refer to them. Once again, this is kind of a slang terminology. So what's important to understand about what's going on, hey Ed, how's it going? Glad you're here. So real quick, so what's important to understand about this is that, and this is, I'm kind of foreshadowing kind of some of next week. What's coming in theoretically FileMaker 20 is continue to be enhancements of what we see. But one of the things is that they're continuing with this layout mode, and you've got a area on the left here, an area on the right here. And so this is called a panel. It's a panel, or correction, it's a right pane. Yeah, they're panes, left pane, right pane. And then there's 4 different panels in here, right? And so what I want to do is over here, there's 3 over here. Now, this is the same as what you have when you're defining scripts. If you're in scripts and you're working on scripts, that you basically have, you can go to the code, you have a right pane, a left pane. The panes are somewhat variable in size, and you have the stuff you're working on in the middle, right? Pretty straightforward. So this is a common workplace metaphor. It's been around for a while. Xcode uses it. Most development environments use it. It's kind of a known thing, and it works pretty well. For those of you who remember back in the old days, you go to layout mode, and the inspector would be like this floating thing. Like you can actually pop another inspector. If I hit inspector, no, that's the command I is the left and right. How do you show like another inspector? Oh yeah, inspector, like a new inspector, right? It used to be that the sides would pop off and they'd be floating around disconnected, right? And so they attached them so they don't get lost so much. It's kind of like Photoshop. Photoshop used to be initially just they had a pane on the left side over here, and then they put the pane on the right side. I'm talking over the last 20 years. So kind of a common thing. So what I want to show you real quick is, of course, we have the panes over here, and we can ask how many of you have questions about. And I'm not being mean. I just need to know, I'm dealing with a lot of very senior people. There's a lot of junior people. I want to answer questions about what these panes do in layout mode. Some of it's a little subtle. I don't get into too much of the detail of the styles because it's really kind of a nit conversation in terms of sharing the styles, things like that. But it's important to understand that you can modify. You specify, if you select an object, then the items over here that are editable are attributes to that object you can change, right? Very, very important. So you have basically what they use. This used to be called data. If you hold the mouse over it and don't move, probably it shows up with the word data, right? You see that? Then you got appearance, the appearance panel, right pane, appearance panel, right pane, styles panel, right pane, position panel. So I hang out in these first 2 right here a lot. And then when you're trying to make things align on the screen or move around the correct way, you're over here quite a bit. You might be resizing things a little bit. A little tip on a trick over here for those of you who haven't seen this. I'd set the points right here frequently. It won't be points. If you click, all I'm doing is clicking on a left mouse click. Most of the time it'll start off in inches or something. So it cycles through inches, centimeters, points, inches. So it's not pixels. They don't use pixels anymore. They use points, right? And that's most of the time what we use. I guess if you're in the print business, you're trying to print piece of paper or something, you might be more interested in your inches, or if you're somewhere besides the UK or United States, then you'd want centimeters. And this is
we do have a question, but it's kind of a weird one because it's kind of like,
oh, Raccoon Ops is here. All right, Raccoon is here. The Raccoon is here. Hey, Rich, is there any chance in how that Claris will give the capability of increasing the size of tools and fonts? Increasing the size of tools and fonts in the inspector. Size of tools and fonts.
I'm guessing it's hard to read, which I mean, and you can zoom in, but like.
You mean like okay, so understand that you are all seeing a 1080 screen and it's being encrypted or encoded video. So it's going to be fuzzy, but if you look at yours, it'll be pretty sharp. So you're saying that overall these tools need to be a little bit bigger. Okay, so Christian Schmidt. Oh, he's not on audio. Let me just do this real quick because Christian Schmidt has some senior citizen improvements. I'm going to leave the call and start it in the other thread. So let me do this real quick, because that plugin, remember the plugin, the Monkey Bread plugin, it has some free features in it, even if you don't want to buy it. And some of the free features are specific eye assisting features, which really kick. I like them a lot. I'm the same way you are. I can look, I have really great corrected vision, but sometimes I take my glasses off because I wear out and I can't see like this reading wise or even depth wise. I mean, it's really quite bad. So with this, I have almost 20/10 vision. That's like Chuck Yeager kind of fighter pilot vision, which helps when I'm flying. So let me see if I can start a call in Slack with the Monkey Bread people, MBS. I'm going to start a call. Okay, so I don't know if I actually have Monkey Bread installed on here. Probably not. He's going to yell at me. Oh, it is on here. Okay, this is so cool. So let me show you a couple things that are in here to help old people, right? So first off is that I don't know that you can increase the size of the panes themselves, but a lot of the other stuff you can increase the size. If I go to script workspace and say we're looking at the script over here, notice at the top right, up here, there's some extra Monkey Breads in demo mode. I haven't put my license key in. I have a license, but I haven't put it in here. You can do searches, do other things, but look at this right here. This is like old guy buttons right here, so check it out. So now, so I'm going to put the window back at its original size. And look at that. So we put it at the normal size, and then you can make it bigger so it's easier to code and see. The only downside is that numbering gets boogered up and it doesn't stay aligned. So you can actually change the calculations inside, change the size of a function, a calculation. Anything that's within this center section here can be increased with Monkey Bread. It's pretty damn great. Christian Schmidt is there. Are you there, Christian Schmidt?
Yeah,
we're talking about your product behind your back. Oh, here we go. So you could set the minimum. Where's the spot where you set the minimum text font size on stuff so you can see it bigger? Where is that?
It's a text field there. Yeah. Yeah, right on the
minimum font
mouse.
size and formula.
Okay, so I could say, I'll say 24. That'll be a little bit over the top. Apply. So I say okay. If I go field definitions and I look at the calculation, oh yeah, look at that, much better. So we're talking about people who they want to know if they can increase the size of the side panes and in terms of the text and stuff, and I don't think you can really do that, right? On the side panes.
Well, for the inspector, we tried it in an older version, but it caused a little bit trouble because FileMaker is not used to get the panels resized.
Okay, there we go. Raccoon Ops says
so it messed up with the layout, so I disabled it for the current version.
Okay, this is also a UI Apple question, but it's good for scripting and Monkey Bread. Thanks for and it's free. I mean, this is like we just gave. I mean, this is really good. So a lot of you have not seen this. It's a really good little thing to have. So let me talk about something. I'm going to foreshadow here a little bit. Once again, I'm talking about FileMaker 20, and what it is that Claris wants to, I think, in the strategic sense of things, well, one thing is they're building kind of a low-code entry onboarding. It's like a boat ramp. So for those of you, people know when I say, I'm not talking about a cruise ship. I'm talking about like a personal boat, like a rowboat, fishing boat that holds 5, 10, 20 people or something. They have these you put the boat, you go up to a boat dock and you drive it and it goes onto a trailer and you pull the boat out of the water and you trailer it around behind your car. Okay, it's a way of kind of onboarding the boat onto ground and doing something with it. Well, Claris is looking for a way to do low code, or not low code. We already are low code. Zero code, no code. So really, there's a conversation. Is 3 things that's really important to understand. No code, which means you don't code at all. It's all drag and drop. The middle position, which is low code, which is the FileMaker platform, which kills me when people talk about low code and they don't talk about FileMaker. And then you have pro code, which is SQL, JavaScript, CSS, PHP, things like that. So it supports all these, but it's kind of limited on the low code side. If you play, and the reason I'm going this is Claris needs feedback on this, is specifically with the 20 version, I'm going to say create new, and you say that you want to start with they call the quick start experience. It's called quick start experience, quick authoring experience. You can try this on FileMaker Cloud or try it here, and it's going to be coming to Windows too at some point. I don't even know when that actually is. But you say get started, and you say, well, give me a name of a file, right? Well, let's call it TK in memory of TK, in memory of TK, all one word. Save the desktop, And so you get this interface. So let me move myself out of the way a little bit more. So this looks a lot like it does with FileMaker, with the next version of FileMaker, right? And it gets better. And so what this is Claris basically, this is basically layout mode. So you go done, and you see it in browse mode, and you say edit, and this is layout mode, but this entire environment right here is a web browser environment. So they're building this a web browser. Notice the items over here are a little bit bigger. I think we're going to get more precise controls in terms of sizing and things. In fact, I asked them about this. I said, man, this thing is kind of, because I'm used to like really small over here, and they got this like giant Dumbo size thing, right? So the idea is that Claris is working on this. Everyone already has this right now. We haven't talked about it. So the idea is that if you want to, say you want to define a new field or something like that, the ability to come over here and define a new field, and this is a new table right here. So what Claris is going to be asking about is, and what we'll be asking you, not right now, but kind of wrap your head around this, including the memory of TK, is to go do a screen record on your computer and try out this kind of thing and try to build yourself, pick a solution that you want to build, pick something you want to build. Like I want to build a list of stormtroopers that are the people I want to talk to after I retire, and try to build it. And don't read any manuals or anything like that. Just go do it and record yourself doing it. And as you are successful with things and you like things, then that will come out in the video. And if you get confused by things, you know how I'm kind of excessively verbose. My wife is the opposite of that. It's always like a game show around the house, right? It's like, here she comes. Oh, she's going for the big money, right? It's always like this constant audio, and she wears her out, and she tells me to shut up, which makes perfect sense. But in the case of the video, Claris needs this is going to go. I'm going to route this straight to PM and engineering, and they want these videos so they can give the engineer and say, look, you guys tried to build this, but it makes perfect sense or it makes no sense. Like, for example, if I pop this window right here, okay, this is like a list of things I can select. The thing that makes the absolute most immediate sense is the thing that's on the bottom right down here. Okay, desktop, tablet, phone, custom, size, and then of course I was down here on this, and if I do let me just do a new table. Let's call it TK Friends, and then I select desktop, and then you're like form and list detail, and you're like, the idea is that some of you are more experienced. So as you do the video, at the beginning of the video, you're going to want to say, hi, I'm TK. I'm an alcoholic. I'm in jail for the next 10 years, but I'm out on probation. I've been using FileMaker for 5 years, and I'm going to review your whatever this quick start thingy is. So this is the one that's in here now. They really want us to do this on the next one, which will be out fairly soon. And so if you do that, once again, no one's going to see it. I might see it, but outside of me seeing it, it's going to go straight to Claris, and it's not going to go on the internet. It goes nowhere, but you're providing direct feedback to Claris engineering on the product. So how cool is that? Does that make anyone feel warm and snuggly that they care? So Carrie says, I used to use tools like the Bento very easy. So here is the strategy. Let me help everyone out. I've been having these realizations kind of slowly. Claris understands the value of onboarding new people. They do not want this mistaken with Bento. It's not Bento. The idea is to be simple like Bento, but Bento really didn't communicate with FileMaker. This is actually FileMaker, but it's got this zero code, no code front end glued on the front of it. And it's not bad for first cut, right? I think it does some really goofy stuff. That's partly what they want you to, either it makes sense to you or it doesn't make sense to you. To be very clear, this is nowhere near the final incarnation of this. It's work in progress. This would be, I would call it closer to being alpha than anything else. It's alpha software, not even beta software. This is like alpha software. And everyone's ignoring it, right? Because they're like, the new guys from StampPlay invented this probably, and we don't like them. They made Claris Connect, which makes no sense. So we're going to ignore it. So what they're trying to do is reach out to the community and say, hey, this is our no code option right here. And then what you do is after you build this for a while, so everyone follow along. So you're building a no-code application. You're actually using it, right? And that button right there, I'm going to zoom in on this. This is super important. This button right here is layout mode, but in like, go to layout mode, right? Yeah, it basically says it's layout mode, but it's really the zero code layout mode. It's pretty limited, right? And so the idea is like, well, where does this go? What does it do? So let me show you how this works. This is pretty cool. This is the same in future releases here. So I started a TK friends file, wherever the hell it went. Memory of TK. Here's a memory of TK. So I double click it. This is the file. It opens up. What if I go ahead and close it out? I'm going to go ahead and say done. I close. I'm going to close all my samples. So there's TK. I'm going to pop it open again. So here it is. And so you can go back and use it. And as long as I keep using it in and out of that edit mode, not layout mode, that's an interesting thing. Let's try that. If I'm here and I hit layout mode, so this is the zero. So what they've done, they substituted in the zero code or zero code layout mode. But then you say done. And then you say, well, and what they say here is that, well, if you'd really like to start to experience all the true awesomeness of the FileMaker platform, then you want to press this button. And you're like, okay. So you press the button, like what happens? And so this is a very big dialogue. When I first saw this dialogue, I told them that Steve Jobs was going to come out of his grave and strike them dead. But I understand what they're doing. So what this does, this is so cool. They really need to do a little graphic where it shows it forking it. This forks the code, okay? It forks it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go and I forked it and I'm going to close it. What you get, this is very cool. You get this file right here, and then you get the new TK file. So what it does, it took the one file which was with the zero code mode turned on, and it forks it. Because the thing is, once you start building pro features in there, the zero code mode can't see them because it's not advanced as a full copy of pro, right? So pro is low code. This thing, whatever the hell they call it, quick start, is the no code, right? And so it forks it. So it's the same file. So if I open this one here, this is the one that says, and this is the file, this is FileMaker specific, this is the low code version. This is the file that we collectively have been using for 30 years. This one over, in fact, I can leave that open. I'm going to put it over here, move it up here. And then I'm going to go to the, it still says quick start on it. They use that word. And so here it is. It's basically identical. It works identically, but they duplicated the file, and this one still has preserved in it the no code layout mode. Does that make sense, people?
Yes. No. I mean, this is just me, and I'm just Margaret, but I think it's valuable just because I remember when I was first starting out in FileMaker, looking at every single button on the screen was immediately overwhelming. And if I hadn't had you that I could go walk up to and go like, what is it?
Yeah, you had an unfair advantage, but people can get most of Richard with an annual training subscription. Don't they realize that? So yeah, you didn't have to pay for it. Most everyone else has to pay for it. This is the mode, and over here, notice how big the font is much larger. This is for the raccoon, right? So the reason that I brought this up, we're going to talk about this next week anyway, but I'm doing my homework now in advance, letting you know that they're still going to be preserving this left pane, right pane, and then multiple panels. Over here, the panels are split. The pane is split in a top and a bottom. Over here is like style. So if I select on a field, then we get bigger things over here. But I think it's too big for me because then you have to find something, you have to scroll about 1,000,000 miles. So these are all the elements that Claris has put in here that they consider zero code. They're adding some more stuff in the next release. And they're going to want feedback on that. They need feedback on that. We need to give them feedback on it because the engineers down there, here's the thing. They are looking at this tool all day, every day, year round. They don't have an objective opinion. They need brand new people look at it and go, oh, that's awesome. That makes perfect sense. Or, oh, what the hell, right?
We do have a question from Ruben earlier about like the original inspector, like the inspector. He wanted to know, anchoring in the inspector panel, what are the do's and what are the don'ts? Yeah,
you know, it took me years to really get comfortable with the inspector and or with the anchoring specifically, because they changed it, and some people would like a duct of water and they like instantly had it. So you have a field item over here. Here's the rub. You got to build A lot of layouts are built assuming a certain size, but if you move them around, like you go browse mode and you resize it, like look at this one. This one's completely anchored to the left. It's not what they call in the business responsive. Responsive is a term web developers use primarily to mean that you build a web page. So for example, if I go to, this is a good page. This is a responsive web page, right? It takes extra programming to do this. So it's on a PC or on a laptop. And then as you scroll down and you make it smaller for an iPad, oh, it starts to resize or do something. And it shuffles things around. And then we get smaller, like a really small iPad, and then it gets to like an iPhone. And now look at it. The menu's vertical, the days are vertical, it auto-shifted. This is called responsive. The anchoring allows your FileMaker solution to be kind of mostly responsive. In this case, the default for this is not responsive, because responsive means that some of it has to anchor left and kind of slide around. FileMaker allows you to expand things, have some things anchor to one side or the other side. For example, normally, so we talk about, let me bring up starting point real quick on this. It's actually a pretty good question. And that was from Ruben. Ruben is a pro coder. This is not, everyone forget about that. Ruben is pro code. Ruben is very pro code. Starting point version 20. Here's a random starting point 20. Okay, I'm going to go to contacts. Okay, let's talk about this. So this is kind of a Nick conversation, but I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to channel Nick. So in this interface, we have basically 3 columns. Okay, we have column number 1 right here, column number 2, column number 3. We can decide how big each set is. In the FileMaker Pro interface as it exists, you can designate one column to be kind of the expanding column. So otherwise, it's really hard to have 2 columns that really kind of share the space. You could try to do that, but it's kind of a mess. Notice how one column we designate. This column is the column that's most likely to be used more, have more data, so we designate it. So in layout mode, we specify the items in here in this section as the section that's going to be both sides. So it stretches both sides for those who can see that. Most of the time, the default is anchor to the left, top and left, or maybe bottom. You have something that glues on the bottom like a footer, bottom and left, or top and right, top and right, so it stays to the right. So that's this one right here. So if I click on this, it's top and right. See that? So no matter what happens, how wide the screen is, it always stays to the right side, right? Very, very, very important. So as I move around, this container is following along here very closely, like a formation flight with aircraft. No matter where one goes, the other one goes right next to it. This one over here auto expands. I must have broke that one just now. But the auto expand is when you tell it to company. This one right here. You do both, right? You see that? This one here, this one here. Oh, this one right here. So I told it to be right only. So it slides as far to the right as it can, and it stops. It doesn't expand. See that? So to fix this one, I would select on it. I would say it was this one, and I would make sure that you do both left and right. So one of the things you're going to figure out in an interface is that an iPhone interface is 1 column only. An iPad interface can be 2 or 3 columns, right? Typically 2 columns because you want the iPad to handle a vertical orientation. A vertical iPad generally will be 2 columns, okay? 2 columns on the vertical iPad. The computer here, the desktop computer, laptop, can generally be 3 columns. So that's kind of a UI user interface issue, but one of the things to understand is you're going to have to pick a section somehow that's going to be the expansive section. Like if I had a description like over here, like a description, I would make these smaller over here, and then I would make the description much bigger, because that way it could be like a bigger block of text, right? Would make more sense, right? Monkey Bread says it's amazing how big database some people write without a script, and how many customers who write scripts don't enable the tools, debugger, and data viewer. Yeah, so yeah, when I first learned FileMaker in 1990, I kind of stayed away from scripts because I was just trying to figure out the calculations and stuff. And then you start to realize what that was. And at the time, I was already a programmer. I was doing Fortran and BASIC in 1989 and 90. But I hadn't kind of learned their syntax. But yeah, people don't use all the tools. Part of this is to see all the tools. Canberra says it's quick and basic, and perhaps will bring more people to FileMaker platform who have no database experience. Yeah, see, so that's the rub. Claris needs a zero-code application that kicks ass, that is a gateway drug for FileMaker Pro, the low and pro code product. And so they're trying to build that, but it's a lot of work, and I think a lot of the engineers understand that the people who originally developed the basic FileMaker system, layout mode, browse mode, find mode, they've been gone, retired, and some of them are dead. They started this in the mid 80s is when this started. Nick was talking about this. Oh, I was using the nutshell and this and that and whatever. And so the people who laid the groundwork, so all the people since then have been adding upon, standing on the shoulders of giants, right, is the terminology for that. And so right now they have to go back and reimagine what might have been from 1985, but in a web interface, right? And it's so funny because some of the stuff that's in the low-code mode over here, is actually very reminiscent of the very early version of FileMaker, like the way it did scripts and it was a script, but you really can't code the script. The script gives you 3 or 4. We talked about this one day where you could see, do a find, do a sort, go to this layout, print, then go back to the original layout. And those were check boxes you could turn on. So the script had like 5 or 6 lines. You couldn't change them. You couldn't reorder them. You could just decide whether you wanted to turn them off or not. And so the thing that you would do in the script is it could go somewhere, do a find, do a sort, print something for you, and then come back to, or go to another location, but come back to the original location. So that's no code. FileMaker 1985 or 86 was no code. That's how far that goes back. That's kind of where this is going, right? We've got the preview section left, the preview section right. Not preview, but the panes left and right. And once again, this is the new look. Not that you're going to be forced to use, but if you're brand new to the platform, it's likely the thing you're going to see first. It's simpler, right, is the idea. FileMaker was rewritten several times. Yeah, in big parts. Yeah, FileMaker has been rewritten.
Yeah, Richard.
Yep.
Yeah, they moved from the classic macOS to the Carbon one for macOS 10, and then with version 8.5, you got the interface rewritten in Cocoa instead of the classic APIs. Then I noticed somewhere in 11 or 12 they rewrote parts for using the CSS stuff. You got a complete new layout engine. And somewhere on the Windows side, they also rewrote it in the user interface in Windows Presentation Foundation.
Correct. Yep, it's been rewritten several times. It'll be rewritten many more times until the day it dies, right? So the point is that it's you always have to be updating your code, modernizing your code, and if you get behind, it's going to be a lot of work. Ed, what is Ultra? Is that an early version of FileMaker? I don't remember Ultra Plus, or is that a competing product? Was Ultra Plus an early version, or was that a competing? Because it was Nutshell, and then it was a version of Nutshell. Okay, yeah. So this goes back before I was involved with it. So this is 80 sometime. When I was in the 80s, I was doing Commodore 64 programming. I wasn't doing programming on the Apple II, for example. It was always a fight between the Commodore people and the Apple II people. It's kind of funny. So. But yeah, I think if Chris Krim came back and helped revision things, I think he would be a great visionary. I don't know he wants to deal with the politics at Apple or at Claris, but he definitely would have a vision on stuff, right? So because Chris Krim is the one who built in his garage FileMaker Go one weekend. He did it over a weekend. It crashed all the time, but it worked. So anyway, I wish I could have been there to see that. That was great. All right, other questions that we have about what's going on here, right? So it's kind of an interesting foreshadowing of next week, and once again, the emphasis on why we need a no code is to help bring in new people to FileMaker platform, because eventually the 50-year-olds retire, and the 60-year-olds retire, and the 70-year-olds retire, and 80-year-olds get grumpy and get a wheelchair, and then yell at you to get off their lawn, stuff like that. So.
Well, I mean, I also think it's cool that you can literally go from no code to pro code with the same application.
So
There's not a lot of other apps that can claim to do that, I think.
So Megan, that was me when I was your age, or actually younger than you, but yeah, it's loosely what I was doing, right? So the tech has come quite a bit farther, but same kind of stuff. Actually, if you look at the code he's writing, I can't freeze it. It's too bad. It's like print, doing this, right? So, yeah, pretty neat stuff. Ruben says, I like the look of the quick start, but now there's even more to know for the exams. I don't get the impression that the quick start was on the test. The quick start with back in the day when I was your age, when I say I walked 10 miles in the snow and all this sort of shit, there was no mouse, right? It was all keyboard and text and stuff like that. But you could still, yeah, BASIC. It was the first language I learned was BASIC, and I was a ninja at it, right? And then I went from there to Pascal and Fortran and some other stuff. And then for fun, we would do logo programming and have it do the little turtle and have it draw big circles and stuff on the screen. So pretty well stuff. Yeah. Yep. Oh, Amiga. Yeah, Raccoon Ops had Amiga. I never got the Amiga. I had moved to the Mac Plus by then, my first Mac. Fortran for mathematicians. Yeah. Cool. Well, it's a good day, and I'm not trying to reminisce too much, but it's good to know where we've come from and where we're kind of going. And the point of the broadcast today, I think kind of people miss this, but Claris needs your help, and they kind of realize it, and they want your feedback. And so we will probably start making an official pitch on this next week. If you want to play with this a little bit, but just understand you need to, if you do a video, you'd absolutely need to make sure that you notate your level of experience, things like that, right? So they know what they're dealing with when they watch it, right? Because my experience in reviewing something would be totally different than, say, Margaret's or Megan's, right? Or Jake's, right? Totally different. So, yeah. Cool. Well, you folks are all greatly appreciated. If we have questions or answers, we are building new free things for you, just so you know. I dedicate resources and frankly money and time to building new solutions, new samples for you, so you can do bigger, greater, awesome things with the FileMaker platform. So the investment continues. Nothing has happened. It's just kind of a slow week. Next week's going to be very busy. Next couple weeks will be very, very busy. So anyway, all right. Well, that's it for today. Margaret, any final thoughts? You going to try to manage Kyle on your own tomorrow? We want to try that?
Sure, we can give that a shot.
Wow. I don't even know what a UNIVAC assembler is. That's before my time, Larry. Sorry about that. Yeah, that was my first computer right there. That was literally me. So, I mean, I never was a better video made. So, cool. All right, that's it. Catch you tomorrow, everyone. Thanks.
Just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left. Amendola reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but then he makes the grab.